Okay, let's get to this question. Your son is in 8th grade and is doing virtual school. We are really struggling because of his autism and ADHD, ODD, and are there any services or tutors to help children on IEPs you have to work? Please help because I'm not receiving answers from his school. I'm not going to list where you live because there's some people in this group that are employees of the very school system that you work in. And so I'm not going to, they know better, but is that a common issue in the school that you, no, it's a common issue. You're not the only one. And shame on them, but that's what they do. And the other thing is, let's see, I don't know when you answered this, or you asked this, it hasn't been that long ago. But I don't know if they're still doing virtual school or whether they're moving toward reintegrating in-person services. But let me just tell you, there were no waivers to your child's right to a free, appropriate public education. And I can tell you that most directors, if they're honest, and I've had a couple honest ones, tell me flat out, James, virtual isn't working. Virtual isn't working for the majority of my special education students. And I so respect that, and I so appreciated that answer. It was nice and refreshing to hear, a director say that, look, this is a major concern, and I acknowledge that this virtual stuff isn't appropriate and it's not properly serving our children. Now, at the same time, was the director hamstrung because of the decisions of the Board of Education to not have in-person services? Yeah, absolutely. So do I blame the director? No, I don't. The director is a piece within, but the larger cog, if you want to call it that, would be the superintendent and the Board of Education. And if they made a decision to go virtual, well, then they just legally exposed that special education director and her staff to a multitude of legal claims that their child is not receiving a free, appropriate public education. So in the case of your child in the virtual learning, if it's not working, then yes, they're on the hook. Could they be providing in-person services? I've already had complaints this school year to where we have secured tutoring services, in-person services for our clients with schools that have chosen to go virtual only. Well, our clients are getting in-person services, either in the form of the school agreeing to provide those services inside a designated school at designated times. I've had a couple that the schools agreed to treat it like a homebound services, to where they have an instructor come out to the home, or let's say a public library, to provide in-person services. And I've had some agree to provide tutoring type services, either privately through companies that are open, that the school, if they're sitting there claiming that we're not open and none of our employees can have direct contact with the student. Okay, that's your prerogative. Doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't mean that you're following the law. It doesn't mean that you're providing my client a free, appropriate public education. Just because you don't want to use your people in person doesn't mean that you haven't secured the resources in the form of IDEA funding from the state and from the federal government, including additional catastrophic money in the form of the PPE funds that came through in June. There's no excuse. If you don't want to do it, if you're saying that you can't do it, that your employees cannot provide in-person services, and that's not the model that you're going with right now, does not absolve you from providing in-person services if it's appropriate for the student. And there are plenty of third-party providers that are open. They're able to do it safely. They're able to provide in-person instruction, and so therefore you would be absolutely entitled to request that. But what I've ended up finding out is that once we get involved and once we file those kind of complaints, and then all of a sudden the school has a change of heart, and magically some of their people are available and some of their people can do it because they don't want to spend the money to pay for that third party provider. So yes, and you're obviously against a rock and a hard place because you work, which means nobody's there to assist and instruct your child like is occurring in virtual learning. In fact, I just had a discussion with a parent today that we're about to start their case where, they have 15 to 20 minutes of instruction for a 45-minute class period, and that 15-minute instruction is nothing but walking them through Schoology and how they need to do the assignment. No actual instruction on the coursework, in understanding the coursework and understanding how to do it. It was just instruction on how to follow the Schoology prompts. That's it. All right, that's not a free appropriate public education. Not with my client who's 4 grade levels below in reading, that needs the instruction. And that instruction isn't being provided. So that's not appropriate. We're about to assert that child's rights, and we're about to secure corrective action. Okay? You're in the same spot. And so, your school system should be doing this. And you live in a state where we take cases. So, if you want us to help, then give us a call. Be more than happy to do it.